Hello everyone, Jonathan Schlack, EAS&Weather here with a severe weather update. First off, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there and grandfathers out there. Anyway, starting off with a slight risk for severe weather that covers southeastern Wyoming, much of the southern half, or pretty much all of the southern half of South Dakota, north central and northwestern Nebraska, northwestern Iowa, much of the southern half of Minnesota, and northwestern and north central Wisconsin. And we have a marginal that covers eastern Wyoming, southeastern North Dakota, much of the northern half of North Dakota, much of northern Minnesota, far southeastern Minnesota, much of Wisconsin, northwestern Michigan, much of the panhandle of Michigan, far northwestern Indiana, northern Illinois, much of Iowa, parts of east central and south central Nebraska and southwest Nebraska, eastern Colorado, western Kansas, far western Oklahoma, the panhandle of Oklahoma, western Texas, and far eastern New Mexico. So we have a marginal. Going to the tornado threat today, we have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado in the extreme northeastern corner of Nebraska, northern Iowa, southeastern Minnesota, north central and northwest Wisconsin, and the southwestern part of the panhandle of upper Michigan. So, yeah. Going over to the wind aspect of things, we have a 5% chance of damaging wind gusts to 58 miles per hour or higher that goes across southeastern Wyoming, southern South Dakota, much of Minnesota, all of Wisconsin, the panhandle of upper Michigan, northwestern Michigan, far northwestern Indiana, northern Illinois, much of Iowa, much of Nebraska, far eastern Colorado, western Kansas, far western Oklahoma, the panhandle of Oklahoma, western Texas, and far eastern New Mexico. Therefore, we have a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher. Going over to the large hail, we have a 15% chance of large hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger in southeastern Wyoming, the southern half of South Dakota, southern Minnesota, north central and northwestern Wisconsin, or west central, I'm not sure. But anyway, northwestern Iowa, and north central and northwestern Nebraska for that 15% chance of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger. And we have a 5% chance of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger in eastern Wyoming, parts of northern South Dakota, southeastern North Dakota, much of northern and extreme southeastern Minnesota, much of Wisconsin, the panhandle of upper Michigan, far northwestern Michigan, the extreme northwestern corner of Illinois, parts of northern Iowa, parts of Nebraska, far eastern Colorado, western Kansas, the panhandle of Oklahoma, western Texas, and far eastern New Mexico. So, going over to the summary, scattered strong to severe storms are possible across the upper Mississippi Valley late this afternoon, with additional storms tonight across the north central plains to upper Mississippi Valley, with large hail as the primary risk. So, going over to tomorrow's outlook, we have a slight risk for severe weather tomorrow that covers southeastern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, far northwestern Wisconsin, central and northeastern South Dakota, and north central Nebraska. So we have a slight for tomorrow. We have a marginal for tomorrow that covers far southeastern Montana, far northeastern Wyoming, central North Dakota, western and southeastern South Dakota, far northwestern, far northeastern, and central Minnesota, parts of northwest Wisconsin, northwestern Iowa, parts of central Nebraska, and northwestern Nebraska, the extreme eastern edge of Colorado, far western Kansas, or western Kansas, I should say, not really far western, but western Kansas, parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma, and the north central panhandle of Texas. So zooming out, going over to the tornado threat for tomorrow. We have a 2% chance of an isolated tornado tomorrow across south central and southeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, northern Nebraska, and far northwestern Iowa. Going over to the wind aspect for tomorrow, we have a 15% chance of damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour higher in south central and east central South Dakota, west central Minnesota, and north central Nebraska. And we have a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher in far southeastern Montana, far northeastern Wyoming, south central and southeastern North Dakota, much of South Dakota, much of Minnesota, northwestern Wisconsin, far northwestern Iowa, parts of central and northwestern Nebraska, extreme eastern Colorado, western Kansas, parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma, and the north central panhandle of Texas. We have a 5% chance of 58 mile per hour wind gusts or higher tomorrow. Going over to the hail, we have a 15% chance of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger in southeastern North Dakota, northern Minnesota, far northwestern Wisconsin, central and northeastern South Dakota, and north central Nebraska. So we have a 15% chance of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger tomorrow. And we have a 5% chance of hail 1 inch in diameter or larger in far southeastern Montana, far northeastern Wyoming, parts of central and northeastern North Dakota, far northwestern and far northeastern and central Minnesota, parts of northwest Wisconsin, far northwestern Iowa, western and southeastern South Dakota, central and northwestern Nebraska, the far eastern edge of Colorado, western Kansas, parts of the panhandle of Oklahoma, and north central panhandle of Texas. So, going over to the summary for tomorrow, scattered strong to severe storms will be possible Monday, which is tomorrow, over much of the northern plains toward the upper Mississippi Valley. So, anyway, happy Father's Day to all the fathers and grandfathers out there. If you're in the affected areas for both today and tomorrow, remain vigilant, and especially remain vigilant today across those affected areas if you're doing something for Father's Day, like doing outdoor activities with, barbecue and stuff like that. Just remain vigilant for later statements and possible watches and possibly some warnings from the National Weather Service. There will likely be warnings for somewhere, but regardless, just remain vigilant if you're doing outdoor plans today with your fathers, your grandfathers, your other relatives, whatever the case may be. Anyway, remain vigilant, and I will have another update tomorrow. Take care.